Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. You know, we've been thinking a lot about how we bring you these fascinating explorations, and we are super excited to kind of share that we've given the show a fresh new feel.
A fresh coat of paint, so to speak.
A fresh coat of paint, yeah. Same deep dives, same
curiosity.
Same curiosity.
Absolutely.
But with a look and energy that we think you'll really connect with.
Yeah.
And what better way to kick off this new chapter than with
absolutely
the intriguing article you shared with us. This one's called "A Dark and Unpredictable Nature of the Djinn."
Oh, yeah. I love that one. It's so good. It's so good.
This one immediately grabbed our attention. It took us far beyond simple ghost stories.
Yeah.
And pulled us into this realm of complex ancient beliefs.
I agree.
So, I mean, what did you, when we thought this piece, like, what was your...
When we saw this one, I was like, man, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Like, this is perfect for the kind of in-depth exploration that we love to do.
Right.
And there's just a richness and a depth to the concept of the Djinn.
Yeah.
That just, it often gets overlooked, you know? People just think, you know, like a genie in a bottle, and
right, exactly.
There's so much more to it.
There's so much more. So, yeah, so our mission today, as we settle into this updated deep dive, is to really unpack the core ideas that are presented in this article.
That's right.
We want to go, you know, beyond the surface level and delve into these surprising aspects of the Djinn,
right?
Especially those that shatter the common and often more sanitized misconceptions.
Yeah.
We'll be kind of navigating through the article's key arguments and the historical context it lays out.
I think the historical context is so key because, you know, we're not, you know, it's crucial to remember that we're not just looking at, like, you know, fantastical tales or, you know, like...
campfire stories.
Campfire stories, right. We're examining a body of beliefs and folklore that has held, like, profound significance for numerous cultures across centuries, shaping their understanding of the world and the unseen, you know?
Right. Forget wish-granting genies for a moment.
Yeah.
This article paints a very different...
It does.
And arguably more captivating picture.
I agree. I think so, too.
Okay, so let's really get into this thing.
Yeah.
So the article starts with something incredibly relatable, yet deeply unsettling.
Okay.
Sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
I've thankfully never, knock on wood, never experienced it, but it sounds
it's the worst.
Absolutely terrifying.
Did you feel like you're awake, but you can't move, you can't speak?
Right.
And a lot of times there's this sense of, like, a presence in the room with you.
Yeah, and the way the article anchors this potentially abstract idea, the Djinn, in a very tangible and often terrifying human experience. Like, think about that feeling of being trapped, unable to move, like sometimes with a sense of a presence nearby.
Yeah.
Like the connection between this experience and the belief in a shadowy, whispering entity. It's like a powerful thread that runs through so many different cultures.
That's right, yeah. And you wonder if that shared human experience, you know, maybe in part, it fuels these really widespread beliefs, right? It's like if so many different cultures have this similar experience and then they kind of come up with similar explanations for it.
It really makes you think, and from that very visceral starting point, the article kind of hits us with this central thesis, which is that jinns are often perceived as malevolent and unpredictable. And that's a stark contrast to the more benign figures we might typically encounter in, you know, popular culture, you know, the genie in the bottle, the whole thing. So, like, where do these deep-seated beliefs actually originate? The article kind of takes us back quite a ways.
Yeah. So if you think about the Djinn, like in terms of their history, like their origins, you know, they're really, really deeply embedded in pre-Islamic Arabian folklore.
Right.
So this wasn't like, you know, this idea that suddenly appeared with the rise of Islam, you know, in the 7th century CE.
Right.
No. This was like a rich tradition of supernatural beliefs.
That had already been there.
That was already present, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of integrated and further defined within the Islamic theological framework.
And the article highlights their unique creation from smokeless fire. which immediately sets them apart from humans.
Right.
Humans are crafted from clay.
That's right.
Angels are made of light.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Djinn.
Totally different. Yeah.
Made of
smokeless fire.
Smokeless fire.
Yeah. It's a big difference, I think, in their origin story.
Right.
In their kind of creation myth.
And that seems incredibly significant, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think that this really different origin, it contributes to their unique and often ambiguous nature.
Right.
The article points this out, that they're neither wholly good,
right,
nor entirely evil.
Mm-hmm.
They exist in this fascinating in-between space. They're chaotic,
right,
they're cunning, and they're driven by desires that aren't necessarily aligned with human morality.
Right.
And I think that this liminal existence, not fully one thing or the other,
right, that
might be key to their kind of enduring mystique. It's just like, what are they?
Right.
They're not easy to pin down.
They're not good, they're not bad.
Right.
It's like it paints this picture of beings that are operating outside the boundaries of human ethical understanding, kind of pursuing their own agendas.
Right. And we can't even really comprehend those agendas.
Right. Exactly.
Because they're not working from the same playbook that we are.
And the article touches on this, their historical role as these unseen roamers of the desert. Mm-hmm. These mysterious forces kind of subtly influencing the mortal world.
Right.
Consider the ancient understanding of the desert, this vast, unforgiving expanse.
Yeah.
Filled with, unknown dangers.
Yeah, it's easy to see how you could start to believe in these kinds of beings, to try to explain the unexplainable phenomena of the desert.
And then the article charts this transformation, right? They begin in this regional folklore,
right,
tied to a specific place, and over time they kind of evolve.
Yeah.
Into global symbols of supernatural terror.
They really do.
How do you think that leap happened?
I think it's fascinating to think about how these ancient beliefs, as they were carried through storytelling, trade, cultural exchange, they would adapt and morph to resonate with different audiences. Right. And, I think the core elements, the unpredictable nature, the potential for danger from the unseen realm, like those things likely translated really effectively across various cultures. Mm-hmm. And eventually they found their way into modern forms of storytelling.
Right, exactly.
You see them in horror films, you see them in literature. I think the inherent ambiguity probably helped too, right? Because it can be adapted to kind of fit, different cultural anxieties.
Now let's address what the article directly calls the biggest misconception.
Okay.
This widespread idea of Djinn as simply misunderstood or even benevolent spirits.
Right, right.
Think Aladdin's genie.
Aladdin, yeah.
That's probably the dominant image for a lot of people, wouldn't you say?
I would say, yeah. I mean, popular culture has played a huge role in shaping that more palatable image of the friendly genie.
Right.
But the article is really determined to steer us back to a much older and arguably more prevalent portrayal in folklore, which is, as tricksters, as manipulators, and even as vengeful entities.
Right.
And it's a really stark contrast. And it makes you question, how that friendlier genie narrative, really gained so much prominence.
It really does make you wonder about the power of storytelling to reshape these ancient fears.
Right.
But the article also delves into some truly dark aspects, like the idea of making pacts with sorcerers.
Yeah, this is a really recurring motif in different traditions of magic and sorcery. This idea of the Djinn granting power in exchange for servitude. Right. And I think it speaks to the perceived, immense power that these entities possess. Right. And the lengths to which people or to which some, might be willing to go to try to harness that power. Right. But it also highlights the inherent danger, right, of those bargains. The risk of becoming the one controlled by the Djinn.
And then there's this really disturbing concept of Djinn possessing human beings.
Yeah, I mean, this is central to Djinn lore, right? In many cultures, the belief that they can inhabit a person, and exert control over them,
Right.
And this leads to, all kinds of negative consequences, from mental instability to misfortune to physical illness, even death. It really underscores the profound fear and respect that these entities inspire.
Right.
And it speaks to this deep-seated anxiety, Yeah.
That humans have about losing control of themselves to an external unseen force.
So it sounds like the key takeaway so far is this moral gray area that the article kind of keeps emphasizing, right? They're not quite demons, right, in the traditional sense, but they're certainly not benevolent guardians either.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is it about them?
Well, I think it's precisely this ambiguity.
Mm-hmm.
This existence outside clear-cut moral categories,
Right.
that makes them so dangerously unpredictable.
Right.
The article really hits on that point. You can't rely on any inherent goodness.
Right.
And you can't assume that they're going to act, according to human ethical frameworks.
Right. Okay, so we're building this picture of these incredibly powerful, often unpredictable beings.
Mm-hmm.
The article then moves on to kind of giving us some specific examples, right? Like different categories or types of jinn.
Let's start with the Marid.
Okay, so the Marids, these guys are something else.
These are the powerful ones.
Yeah, they're portrayed as like among the most powerful.
Okay.
And certainly the most arrogant. Like they know they're top dog.
Okay, so they're not shy.
They're not shy at all. And what's really interesting about them is that, even when they're associated with granting wishes, this kind of goes back to that more familiar trope, like the genie in the bottle.
Right.
But even then, the price is high.
Right.
They demand immense sacrifice in return.
Okay.
So it's like a cautionary tale,
Yeah.
It's like, be careful what you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for because
it might cost you more than you're willing to pay.
And then we have the Ifrit.
The Ifrit, yeah.
They sound particularly volatile.
These guys are they're intense.
Yeah.
So the Ifrits are frequently linked to fire.
Okay.
Which, that goes back to their origin.
Their fiery origins.
Their fiery origins, right. And the article emphasizes their vengeful nature and the extreme difficulty in controlling them. These are not
the ones you want to mess with.
No, these are not the ones you want to mess with.
Got it.
They're raw, untamed power.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is you just leave them alone. You don't want to poke the bear, so to speak.
So definitely not the kind of beings you'd want to accidentally cross.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And the article even mentions this belief that simply speaking their names could carry a risk.
Yeah.
Like, is that real?
Well, it's hard to say what's real and what's not.
Right.
But the idea that whispering their names, or calling upon them can summon their wrath, that really underscores the level of reverence, and maybe primal fear, with which they are regarded, like, don't even say their name.
Yeah.
You don't want to attract their attention.
Which brings us to this chilling encounter that the article recounts.
Okay, yeah.
This modern day story of the traveler in the Middle East.
Yeah, this one's really, really creepy.
Oh man, this is a good one. This one,
it's a good one.
It takes these ancient beliefs and it slams them into a contemporary setting.
It does.
Making it feel surprisingly relevant.
And I think the details are what make it so unsettling.
Right.
It's a singularly innocent act, right?
Right.
He picks up an ancient artifact.
Right.
And then it all starts to go wrong.
And then, yeah.
And he starts having terrifying nightmares. There's this inexplicable, physical phenomena.
Right.
Like objects moving on their own.
Right, like the classic
whispers in the darkness.
Yeah, and the role of the local mystic is absolutely pivotal in this account.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the mystic is the one who identifies the artifact as belonging to a jinn.
Right.
And immediately recognizes the danger.
Right. That it shouldn't have been disturbed.
That it shouldn't have been disturbed. Yeah, and I think it highlights the enduring presence of these beliefs,
right?
Within certain cultures, and the continued role of these individuals who are seen as having the knowledge and the ability to interact with, or at least understand these unseen forces.
Yeah, and then there's the intense cleansing ritual.
Yeah. This is crazy. They go through this whole, it's like, it's a big deal, right?
It's a big deal.
They're not messing around. It really emphasizes the perceived power and potential malevolence of these encounters.
It's a really compelling personal story that the article shares. And it serves as this powerful reminder that for many, these aren't just relegated to the realm of dusty old legends.
No, they're not. It's real, or at least it's perceived as real, which makes it real, right?
It does.
In a lot of ways.
So as we start to bring this deep dive together, the article concludes by reiterating the Djinn's enduring status as these profoundly mysterious and often deeply feared supernatural entities
across all these different cultures.
Yeah, so the core takeaway really is this dual nature, right?
Yeah, this neither inherently evil nor entirely benevolent.
Right.
This existing in a realm of chaos, deception, and power. Like it's all of those things at once.
They're so hard to define.
They are so hard to define.
Yeah, and this very unpredictability is what makes them so captivating.
Absolutely.
To study and potentially so dangerous to encounter.
You encounter.
Yeah. So they defy easy categorization.
They do.
And their motivations remain largely opaque to us.
We can't get inside their heads.
No.
we don't know what they want, really.
No, and this persistent, unpredictable nature truly is the central thread that kind of weaves its way through the entire article.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Making them, as it says, both fascinating and terrifying in equal measure.
Equal measure, yeah.
So ultimately, the article kind of leaves us with this very, very clear impression.
Yeah.
These are not forces to be treated lightly.
No. You gotta respect the Djinn.
Right.
Whether you believe in them or not.
Right.
You gotta respect the power of the idea,
Right. Exactly. So after taking this deep dive with us, like what stands out most to you about this dark and unpredictable nature of the Djinn?
I think for me it's the sheer complexity and the radical departure from that simplistic wish-granting genie image.
Right.
Like when you really start to understand their deep roots in pre-Islamic beliefs.
Right.
And you trace their evolution through different cultural contexts. It reveals a much richer and far more nuanced understanding of the supernatural,
Right.
It really makes you think about how folklore evolves and why certain archetypes maintain their power,
over centuries.
Over centuries, yeah. It's really fascinating.
And the RF also has this join the discussion prompt.
Oh, yeah.
Inviting readers to share their own experiences or thoughts on the otherworldly.
Right, like it's not just an academic exercise,
Right.
It's something that people are still grappling with today.
Right, exactly. And that invitation to share personal experiences can often lead to the uncovering of incredible perspectives.
Yeah.
And further illuminate the impact.
Right.
Of the ancient myths.
It humanizes it in a way, I think.
It does.
It's not
real.
It makes it real. It's not just stories in a book.
The article also teases that they'll be exploring forbidden occult rituals and shadow entities next.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Ooh, I know, right?
I'm here for it.
Which definitely feels like a natural progression from this discussion.
It does, yeah.
Into other hidden and potentially perilous realms.
Yeah, like we're going deeper down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yeah, we are.
We're getting into some really, really interesting territory.
So perhaps the enduring power of the Djinn myth, lies in our own subconscious recognition of the unpredictable and sometimes chaotic forces that exist.
Right.
Just beyond, our conscious awareness.
I think you're right.
Both within ourselves and in the vast mysterious world around us.
I think there's There's something to that, yeah. That we're drawn to these stories because they tap into something deep within us that recognizes the power.
The power.
The power of the unknown.
The power is the unknown. Well said.
And the chaos.
And the chaos.
The chaos that exists, just below the surface of our everyday lives.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah.
And be sure to check out our new look.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think.
And let us know what you want to see next.
We'll see you next time on the deep dive.
See you then.